GJ everyone, I'm Dr. Volkan Temiz and welcome back to Aussie Financial Chronicles. Today, we're diving straight into the heart of the biggest, most uncomfortable, and least asked question in financial history. If every single country on Earth is drowning in debt, who the blazes is the creditor? America owes over $38 trillion. Japan, $9 trillion. Global debt currently exceeds $315 trillion. So why isn't the whole bloody system collapsing? Because governments aren't actually trying to pay off their debt. They're rolling it over forever. This isn't a conspiracy. This is modern finance itself, mate. What you're about to learn today are the key insights that will change the way you see the financial world forever. We'll uncover how government bonds were born on the battlefield in 1694. We'll look at the Aussie factor, how Australia mastered creating and rolling over its own debt, especially with our superannuation funds. We'll see how central banks, including our own RBA, quietly manufacture money by creating debt. And most importantly, we'll see how debt isn't a transfer between countries, but a constant upward flow of wealth between taxpayers and institutional creditors. Stick with this until the end, because once you see what debt truly is, you'll never hear the word deficit the same way again. Just before we crack on, I owe you all a massive thank you for your support. Every comment and every share, you lot are the driving force behind our mission. If you're new here, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button to join this journey of enlightenment. And please share this video with any mate who's interested in finance. Now, let's dive into the biggest paradox in history. So, how did we get here? This moonshine of $315 trillion in global debt has its foundation not on Wall Street, but way back in 1694, during England's war with France. The king was desperate for cash to fund his army, so he made a deal with a group of wealthy merchants. Give me money now, and I promise to pay you back with future taxes. That promise, written on paper, was the world's first government bond. And just like that, the game changed. Suddenly, debt wasn't a sign of weakness or shame. It became a measure of credibility. A country that could borrow huge sums of money was seen as stable and powerful. The ability to go into debt became the ability to govern, to wage war, to build empires. That simple promise from 1694 is the bedrock of our entire financial system today. It allowed governments to spend money they didn't have, based on a promise that future generations would foot the bill. And that promise, that bond, became the safest, most trusted asset in the world. So if the world is swimming in these bonds, who is holding the other end of the rope? Who are these creditors? The common misconception, especially when you hear about America's $38 trillion debt, is that it's all owed to China. But that's not the full story. Not even close. The truth is, a massive 2/3 of U.S. debt is held domestically. It's owned by American banks, insurance companies, investment funds, and even the Federal Reserve itself. It's like a circular mirror. The U.S. Treasury issues bonds to raise money. American pension funds, like the ones holding the retirement savings for millions of people, buy those bonds because they're considered ultra. Then, ordinary American citizens pay taxes to the government, which uses that money to pay interest on the very bonds held by their own retirement funds. The interest flows from the taxpayers through the government and back into their own pension accounts. The debt is real, but the creditor is often just a reflection of the same system. It's an internal loop, a giant financial machine that America built to fund itself. The money rarely leaves the country. It just changes hands within the same economic ecosystem. And this circular loop is incredibly strong right here in Australia. In fact, for us, the line between debtor and creditor is even more personal. A huge part of this is our mandatory superannuation system. It's a juggernaut, one of the biggest cogs in the global debt machine. The savings of millions of everyday Aussies are collected and invested by these massive funds. And what do they love to buy? Safe, reliable government bonds, both from our own government and from overseas, including U.S. treasuries. This means that you, through your super, are one of the largest creditors to our own government and to other nations. Your retirement is literally funded by the interest paid on the debt you also pay for through your taxes. We saw how powerful this can be back in the 1990s during the credit boom. After deregulation, banks made it incredibly easy to borrow money. The government saw this as a sign of economic confidence. But this explosion of private debt became the engine behind Australia's property bubble. The creditors, in this case the banks, created trillions in debt based on the simple belief that the debtors, the homeowners, would pay it back. This is the clearest proof of how debt became not just a liability, but an asset in itself, propping up property prices across Australia. So let's get to the core secret. The one thing you need to understand about all this government debt: they never, ever planned to pay it off. Not now, not ever. Think of it like a subscription service. When old bonds are due to be paid, governments don't scramble to find the cash. They simply issue new bonds to pay off the old ones. It's called rolling over the debt. They just keep refinancing forever. The actual debt amount becomes irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the interest payment. It's like paying rent for financial stability. What would happen if they actually tried to repay it? Imagine the US government decided to pay off every last dollar of its $38 trillion debt. The result would be catastrophic. Banks, pension funds, and super funds all around the world, including yours, would suddenly lose their most reliable, most stable asset. The collateral that underpins the entire financial system would vanish. The money supply would shrink dramatically, triggering massive deflation and a global economic collapse. In a strange twist, paying off the debt would destroy the very thing that makes our modern economy work. This whole system runs on one thing: trust. As long as everyone believes the government will keep paying the interest, the machine keeps running. But when that trust falters, the creditors, who were hidden in the background, suddenly become very visible and very real. Look at what happened to Greece in 2010. Their economy was struggling, and trust in their ability to pay their debts evaporated. Suddenly, the anonymous bondholders, the European Central Bank, the IMF stepped out of the shadows. They held the entire nation hostage, demanding brutal austerity measures in exchange for a bailout. That bailout was just another word for sacrifice. The Greek people had to endure years of hardship to satisfy the creditors. This reveals the ultimate truth. Debt isn't just a transfer between countries. It's a transfer between classes. The interest payments flow in one direction, upwards, from the taxpayers and workers, like you and me, to the institutions and wealthy investors who hold the bonds. This is why you see global inequality and global debt rising together, hand in hand. The system rewards those who owe the money the governments and quietly funnels wealth to those who own the debt, while the average citizen just pays the bills. So, to wrap this all up, debt is no longer bondage. It has become balance. Modern finance has ingeniously turned the concept of debt into the foundation of money itself. The line between who is the debtor and who is the creditor is now so blurry, it's almost unrecognizable. And always remember this: the plan was never to repay the debt. The plan was to keep the world believing that it could be repaid. As long as that trust continues, the numbers on the screen can stretch on forever. Thank you so much for delving into this complex financial mechanism with me. I deeply appreciate you sticking with it, hitting that subscribe button, and sharing this critical information. And as promised, we have a reward this week. For everyone who shares their thoughts on this video in the comments section and hits the like button, we are gifting a special digital library of 1,000 books on finance, history, and personal development. All you need to do is leave a thoughtful comment below. Until the next Aussie Financial Chronicles, may your financial compass always be clear. Cheers, and stay safe.